Okay, Tashi Delek, everybody. Yeah, this is the foundation class, so and then we're going to start. Now, first of all, let's give them the link for the prayer books. I don't know where it is. Let's see. Let's see if I can. Okay, that's the prayer book. The link is there, so please download the prayer book if you want. So first of all, please bring in mind the precious motivation of the Bodhisattva, that whatever we do in order to bring all motherly sentient beings whose number pervade the vastness of space to the state of perfect and complete Buddhahood. To do so, I will engage in the listening to the teachings on the preliminaries and bring forth the understanding of the meaning and thereby engage in my life. So with that intention, we open our prayers. Page 1.
Rinpoche
Okay, now page 59. So what we chanted is the preliminary practice of the Dudjom Tersar tradition. So this is what is based as the preliminary practice. So we'll be going through this one, and then in order to receive the teachings, first we have to chant the prayers requesting the teachings. That's on page 59. Dorje lomben sangen pel desum sholai chanze lo chonsum dembe shinjurola nime yeke chapsu ching juro yeke namtrube dabe cheba shesu se ngudro chowo chebe gek neje malu shamparagi choju korosum dabe che ma cha chelai je ye ran da be ta je drima me zo be jan shu sem ge do de she wan chu sem ba la da ba sum ge lu bu lo che ra dram be ge wa nam du ne jan chu chong du. So next is the mandala offering. In order to make the mandala offering, you need to learn how to make the mandala making mudra, mandala offering mudra. So you can see, you bring your fingers together like this, so back to back like that, and you hold your little finger with the thumb. So the little finger is held by the opposite hand. So the left little finger is held by the right thumb. The right little finger is held by the thumb and the left thumb. So, and the ring fingers go back to back. The ring fingers, they go back to back. So and then the middle finger is held by the opposite index finger. So the middle finger is held by the index finger like this. Your index finger is beneath the middle finger, so index finger like that. Now you pull it inside, you tuck them inside like this. That's the mandala making, mandala offering, and then this represent making the offerings to the Lama in order to receive the teachings you're making. So just like a majestic monarch or a king offering all the universe, his or her country and possession and everything like that, likewise, in order to receive the teachings, then we should be generous and make offerings. So that's why this is the mandala making. And then recite the mandala stanza. Sanjin pe chu ju shi me to cham re ra li shi ne de gam bai de Sangye shing du mik te pu wa yi Drogun nam da shing la che para sho Idam guru ratna mandala kam niryata yami. As you say the mandala, you dismantle the mudra, and then like that. Sometimes you can have grains or flowers in between your palms like this as you hold, and you can sprinkle, toss them in the air. And then the stanza requesting the teachings, page 62. Semjen namgi samba dan lo ye che dra che da war che chon tun mon te ba ye che ge korlo korodu sa. So then your part is done. Then I will just recite some prayers invoking the blessings of the Lama and all the lineage masters. Tembalame Sangye Rinpoche, Jobalame Damche Rinpoche, Drembalame Geden Rinpoche, Chamne Konsho Sumla Chancelo. Tabge Tuje Shancha Resu Chungshengi Mitu, Degi Ponchomba Serge Limbo Tabu Jebeko, Shachenge Po Chamla Chancelo, Balden Sonni Shuder Subale Kenze Ye Karange Sandro Sharbe, Kanchen Kedu Yonke Sujencho. Soke dorje drove lama de lama dang gombo je zen jambe yang la chan zen lo gan ge lo de ne gender ne tara namda ra se ve jine den guen je jen zik chen ne ke to gan leng bam zen gan da se be zen ra ma re men tom dong ye ge zen ro zo gon la bu je dar zen yang la ro cho yang den song ro tar chen ro nyan mo ne lo le ke chan ro de ze chen ma re mun san dong ye nyu go je ne che ze re Dene da jen sa jo tarzen yen den le zo ge se tuwe ko cho da chu nan chu ne gen che. Da le men se chambe yang la rab tu di o mara pa zana di o mara pa zana di o mara pa zana di o mara pa o mara pa zana di 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 zen den ke ge ken ra ve zer ke Dalu timo mambarab sene kada tenche shunlo toba ye lo dre pobe nawa tsendu so. Cheku gundu zambo gomba ye doje semba garab dorje dan shere singe bado jinlapte de dama jen dada de sumki. Zochen jube lama la sewande ugen pema jone la sewande. Zen den dorje zama onde sheme ba taye shabda da pejon get san robeng. Jigdra yeshe dorje la se wande sange kunge sheme pema jon shingzur chube zen long chenje. Kange yansi chile norbo la se wade so drame jenge lo choke lama namge gel sabdo wanguron long zen chome chendenje. Bebe Neljuro Gundan Zochenba Sange Doje Shabla Sewande Yenten Sange Kundan Yamna Yang Karden Sange Kule Labege Savela me shamla sewande nelo toba ke wara jinjelo lepara shepa boba ke dosa. Namkha danyambe semjen tamjen namken denge dewa lana mache bayanda bara zobe janchu rinpoche. Chinne jan to bara jan deye chendo che zamo dine tsul jendo sende ten nyam sulam prakyo nyamba samba jacho. Janchu semge gonlong dan jebe gonne sembarasho. So, first of all, please give rise to the precious motivation, which is called the vast aspiration of the Bodhisattva. That is to think of bringing all motherly sentient beings, whose number are as infinite as space. I want to bring them all to the state of perfect and complete Buddhahood by all means. To do so, then I will listen to these profound teachings and bring forth the understanding of the meaning of these teachings and thereby engage in my life. And then also, along with that, we say the profound skillful method of secret tantra. And this one may be too early for you all who are beginners to understand that, but anyway, there are conducts to abandon and conducts to cultivate. So, for example, when you're listening to the teachings, being humble and attentive and being focused and listening to the teachings, and then also like arrogance and pride and so forth, those emotions we need to set aside. And if we bring those, then we mingle, we contaminate the teachings. So all of those you learn slowly by slowly. So all of those, what needs to be abandoned, what needs to be cultivated as taught in the sutras and tantras, understanding that, and then please practice in this way. So the topic that we are going to study is the preliminary practice. And the preliminary practice is the Dudjom Tersar. And then I chose the commentary by Lama Tarchen Rinpoche, who is one of my teachers, who is one of my lamas. So we'll go through that. We'll use his book. It's a very precise and very compact text. So next time you can order this book online to buy the commentary. So why do we need to practice or the foundation practice of the preliminaries is because our mind, or we have taken so many series of lifetimes, and then it is taught in the teachings. When did we start taking life forms? It's like it's untraceable. It's like countless, timeless, immemorial. It's like timeless past. In each and every lifetime that we were born, that our mind having been confused, that we generated habits, and habits created karma, and karma creates all this result. So we are conditioned to the habit and result of karma, and then sentient beings experience that. So this is how we have gone through so many lifetimes until even till this life. And that's why in the Buddha's teachings we kind of we are taught that this life is not imposed on us. This life is not Buddha's teachings don't believe in a creator or someone who created this. And that doesn't make any logical sense. If the creator has that kind of power, then why doesn't he correct everything and create everything perfectly? And if the creator is permanent, how could his creation be impermanent? Or if the creator is one, then how could his creation be multiple, and so on and so forth? Those are there. And then it's been explained to us that all of these experience and all of these results that we are experiencing comes from a cause. So Buddha, in his first turning of the wheel of Dharma, we say turning of or setting the teachings in motion, So it is given the example of a wheel. So the wheel keeps turning, the teachings keeps rolling. So it's like the will. And also the will is given as an antidote. The will traverses, transports from one to another destination, or from one place to another. So the teachings are also kept in the example that as we follow the teachings, we traverse the path, and then brings us to the destination. So in Buddha's first turning of the will, he explains to sentient beings or to his followers that this conditioned life of ours, what is it? So in this life, we all want happiness, but happiness is temporal. Even if we experience happiness, it is just for a short while, and happiness comes to an end. And then we have this conditioned life where we are born, we age, we have sickness, and then eventually we die. So why do we have to go through this process of being born, and then aging and getting sick, and then eventually dying, and so forth? So Buddha explains this, and then this explanation is the truth of our life, the truth of our being, it's called the truth of this conditioned existence. The word that he uses is the truth of suffering. For example, this life that we have, it's impermanent. This life that we have goes through change. This life that we have, that we think that it is one and unchanging, it goes through this change and so forth. So, and then also he explains our wants, our desire and so forth, our attachment and so forth. For example, things that we don't want that come our way and then cause us suffering. Things that we wish doesn't get fulfilled, and the fear or the doubt that things that we expect will not be fulfilled and so forth. So all those kind of conditioned existence is explained. So that is the truth of suffering. But why do we have to suffer? Why do we have to experience this condition, suffering and experiences and so forth? And he goes on to explaining that this actually comes from a cause. This is not something falling from the sky onto our lap. This is happening for a reason, because we actually planted the seed of this causation, for this to cause, or for this to ripen, or this to result. So then he explains this, that is called the truth of origination, or the truth of the causation of suffering. So those two, samsara's cause as the seed, meaning our afflictions and our misunderstanding of the true nature and so forth, is the cause, the seed. And then this conditioned experience as the result. So samsara is clearly set in front of us as the seed, what causes the result, and then what we are experiencing as the result. So very plain and simple and very logical. So this, in the first turning of the wheel, he talks about those two truths. And then he goes on to explaining, saying that, is there a way that we can free ourselves from this suffering? Then Buddha himself says, yes, like me, how I have freed myself from all this confusion. There is a state called the end of suffering, which in the Dharmic term is also called cessation, the end of suffering. So then he goes on explaining that as the truth of cessation, where all this conditioned suffering and change and so on and so forth is brought to an end. And then in order to experience this or to result or to attain such kind of result, then we need to plant the seed, which is called the truth of the path of cessation. So in this way, then he again lays down in front of us that freedom or liberation from samsara as the result, and then the path that brings about cessation as the seed. So the Four Noble Truths are actually the cause and the result of samsara, and then the cause and the result of nirvana. The first two truths explain the cause and result of samsara, and then the second two truths show the result, the cause and the result of nirvana or freedom from samsara, like that. So therefore, in order for us to enter onto the path, we need to rely on this kind of teachings. So, and then just simply hearing the teachings kind of brings us some kind of understanding, but it doesn't stabilize ourselves. So therefore, masters in the traditions have formatted this path like the preliminaries for us to practice and then gain stability. So that's the purpose why we need to set the foundation. And also we need to be, in order for us to enter into this path, first of all, there is the mind trainings, or how should we think, or how should we set ourselves on the path. It's not blindly entering onto the path. So before the preliminaries, or they are also called as the outer preliminaries. So in order for us to begin the preliminaries, there is another set of preliminaries preceding that preliminaries. That is called the mind trainings. So the mind trainings are to understand this life as precious, appreciation of this life, how fortunate this life is, that if we were to utilize our discerning awareness or to use this life wisely, that we would be able to free ourselves from this suffering. In every being, or we say sentient being, because every being that has mind has the wish to be happy, and they do not wish to suffer. So in that terms, we are all same. I don't want to suffer. I always want to be happy. Likewise, even bugs, tiny bugs, like ants and insects and so forth, to the mighty huge elephants and whales and so forth, they have the same mentality. They don't want to suffer. They want happiness. So that's why in the Buddhist teachings, we kind of we take in consideration that one, and then we respect all forms of life. So although we wish for happiness and we don't want suffering, but then all these lifetimes, what have we done? Have we been able to achieve that lasting happiness? No. Why? Because we didn't have the basic clue of what actually brings happiness. So all this life we were selfish and always wanting happiness and not wanting suffering, but what we conducted or what we behaved was just contradicted our want and our not wanting suffering, but always engaging in actions and speeches and thoughts that only caused the ripening or the fruits of suffering and unhappiness, like that. So then now it's time for us to turn our minds toward this kind of path that sheds light into this darkness of our non-recognition or our ignorance, so that we clearly understand what brings happiness. So this is just the basic thing. In this one, we don't have to be superficial. We don't have to generate any kind of blind faith and so forth. It's just using our keen awareness to examine the path. Buddha himself said, to his followers, as monks and nuns and so forth, he said, just like how you burn and hammer the ore, the gold ore, until it is refined. Similarly, like that, you don't take my teachings for granted. You need to examine and speculate and question, and all reason, you bring all the reason, and then once you are once you gain the confidence, or once you trust, once you are, when all of your questions are answered, then you can naturally gain confidence in the teachings. So this is how we need to enter into the path. So the mind training is all about questioning, reasoning, and so this is what we need to do. So not just entering into the path blindly. That's what. So the mind training is the preliminaries of the preliminaries. They are called the outer preliminaries. So we'll go through that one, and Lama Thachar Rinpoche explains in his commentary very, very beautifully and in very few words, and then we'll understand that. So that's the reason why we chose this class as the foundation class. So and then in the mind training, just like how we now explained that, for us to enter into the path, first we need to question ourselves. Why should we enter onto the path? And then just like, I gave the example that all this time we wanted happiness, but we weren't able to achieve. But now Buddha teaches that in order to free ourselves from suffering, then we need to give up the seed that causes, the origination of suffering. Then only we can stop the result. So then we need to listen, we need to read, we need to explore these teachings like that. And then he talks about this life as precious and fortunate. If you are able to use in the quest of searching for the light, then your life is meaningful. Then that life becomes special. Then we need to remember that life is very, it's very short. It's very fragile. It's subject to death, impermanence. Then we need to contemplate that how this life, so precious, can come to an end any moment. So these are also within the mind training. And further on goes on to understanding the truth of cause and effect. So that way, we are led towards further clear understanding of the path. So it talks about cause and effect and so forth. So that's categorized as contemplating on infallibility of cause and result, the causation and result, like that. But that thing is too early for us as a foundation class. But these two, the previous two contemplations are so that we can use this life in a meaningful way. First of all, we need to appreciate how precious this life is. If you do that, then we have no time for laziness. Yeah, we appreciate this life, and then we can utilize this life in a proper manner, in a meaningful manner. If you just were to consider this life comparing with some other ordinary being's life, then you would not see any kind of worth. And you think, oh, it's just another kind of life. For example, some people don't even see any worth of their life, and they take their own lives. Yeah, so that's like a wasteful life. Or some people live lives that just cause pain and bring problems and then cause hurt and harm toward others. What a wasteful life. So if you were to compare to that kind of life, then you wouldn't see any kind of value of your own life. But if you look into the lives of masters, for example, those who followed the Buddha's teachings and so forth, they practiced in that way, just as how the Buddha prescribed or how the Buddha taught, and they brought forth liberation and freedom from this confusion and from samsara. Yeah. So in that way, then you see, oh, this life is meaningful. In the teachings it is mentioned, if we were to pile the flesh that we acquired from taking all of those lives from countless lifetimes, from timeless past, then it would be even, there would be no space to amass that mass of body, the flesh that we had from our previous lifetime. If we were to collect the blood that we had from our lifetimes, it would be even greater than the vast ocean. There won't be any space to contain it. So like that. And all of this life, all of those lives that we lived, we all lived without any meaning, without any true essence, any meaningful essence. But if you were to utilize this life, this single life, in pursuit of that truth, then this life would be meaningful. So therefore, this is how we need to see in the mind training. And it's really, very important for us to see in that way. Then, even to hear this kind of word from someone or from a teacher or from saying that this life is precious, we must have gathered quite a tremendous amount of merit to hear this word. Yeah, to hear this word. So the foundation class begins in this way, and then in this foundation practice, that's the path that, as I mentioned, it's like if we practice it as we are taught, then it can take us from light to brighter light. It can remove us from those unnecessary suffering that is created by ourselves. So, you can read on the Four Noble Truths. Even if you cannot cover the two later truths, you can just read the truth of truth of suffering and the origination of suffering. You can bring more caution from the house there. Okay. In the table.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How would you define samsara?
Samsara, yeah. Samsara is the string of life or the continuation of life.
Okay.
Yeah. It's because what causes this life is the question. See? So then in many other teachings and so forth, some say, oh, we came out of the blue and out of nowhere. So there some teachings kind of negate any kind of causation. Oh, we came from nowhere and it's just by chance that we are here, and then we'll go nowhere. We'll just like dust being thrown in the air. It will just dissolve like that. But that's not the case. But again, in the Buddha's teachings, it is those kind of wrong views are corrected. So we'll learn those. And then again, as we talked earlier in the beginning, that if this life is being created, then doesn't make any logic, any sense. And if the Creator has such power, then why can't He? It's time, especially now, particularly at this particular time, that He needs to correct all of this. So then in the Buddha's teachings that this life is actually a result of what went ahead. So there's a cause of life. And what is that cause for now? It's our misunderstanding of the reality. So what's the reality is yet to know. That reality is the truth. And when we don't know the truth, and then this life, this complex life, this conditioned life is caused. So then because of that one, then in the Buddhist temples, when you enter outside, there is a depiction of cause and effect, the samsaric life and so forth. There is the wheel of life. And then in the center, there are 3 animals. One is a rooster, another one is a snake, and the third one is a pig. So then externally there are like black and white circles, so divided into black and white. So the black depicts bad karma, the white depicts good karma, positive karma. And then the core of that one is those 3 animals, called the 3 poisons. So the rooster represents desire or attachment. The pig represents our anger or hate. And then the snake represents our anger or hate. And then the pig represents ignorance, stupidity, like that. So these 3 afflictions, those are a reason from non-recognition of our own nature. And then not recognizing that, we project these 3 poisons. And these 3 poisons cause actions and speeches and thoughts which are considered as, good karma or bad karma. And then again, if you go around that circle, you will see other life forms. Then there are 3 life forms that go higher, 3 life forms that go down lower, like that. So like that, in the Buddha's teachings. So what causes this life, this samsaric life, is there's a cause that precedes. And then, not knowing that, we create this chain of habit which creates karma, and then karma propels. And then there is the karma that we plant. And then along with that, there is also what we call as the harvest or the reaping of that karma. Before the harvest of the karma, there is what we call as this, as we plant, there is also a habit that we crave for. Because of the craving then projects another level, which is birth. And then within the birth, then there is the experience, the harvest or the reaping of that karma, like that. So that kind of goes on and on and on. And then that propels different life forms. And that different life forms within conditioned existence is called samsara. Samsara. It's like a water wheel, and the bucket's tied onto the wheel. So it just like goes on and on and on. So in this today's class, I'll read the introduction that Lama Tharchan Rinpoche wrote in his commentary. It goes on, Namo Guru Bhai. Namo Guru Bhai means homage to the Lama. So all authors, whenever they compose anything, they offer their homage to the Lama, so that the Lama grants the blessings, so this composition is completed and brought to completion, fulfilled, this intention is fulfilled, so like that. Namo Guru Bhai. I pay homage to the Guru and request permission to write a brief commentary on the profound Dudjom Tersar Ngöndro. So here again, Rinpoche kind of explains what is Dudjom Tersar. In the Dharma, in the Buddha's teachings, we have three different kinds of vehicle. They are called yanas, or three different levels of teachings. The first, in general, is called the Sutrayana, or just the general that practices general teachings of Buddha. And then comes the Mahayana, which focuses more onto the Bodhicitta, or great compassion and wisdom, like that. And then further on, there's the teachings on the essence of the seed of Buddhahood, that all sentient beings inherently have the seed of awakening to Buddhahood. If they didn't have the seed or the potential, just like mustard or sesame seed have the potential for oil. So if you squeeze, you get oil. But if you were to squeeze a sand or grain of sand, however much you tried, you would not get oil from it, because it doesn't have that potential. So likewise, in the teachings, it is mentioned that sentient beings inherently have the Buddha quality, inherently have the Buddha potential. So if they practiced and if they learned and trained themselves, then they would awaken. So there's the teachings on the Buddha potential, or the seed of Buddhahood. It is also called the essence of awakening to Buddhahood. So, and when in that context, then the teachings of Tantra, like the initiation to the deity phenomena, the mantra, the awakened speech, awakened mind state, and all of those things are introduced. So there are three. So in our tradition, in Dudjom Tersar, then we practice the tantric tradition, which takes the general Buddhist teachings, and on top of that one, we found ourselves, or we base the teachings of Mahayana, cultivating great compassion and wisdom. Then further, we adorn that path of our practice with bringing the teachings of these, the Vajrayana, called the teachings that initiates us to awaken body, awaken speech, and awaken mind, like that. So then in that one, then we have this, what we call as Dudjom Tersar. So this text that we read in the beginning of it was written by Garwang Dudjom Lingpa, so Dudjom Rinpoche. He was the third emanation of Dudjom Rinpoche that's sitting on the throne here. So his predecessor was the one who wrote this, and his immediate predecessor was the one who did the commentary, and so we were reading what his direct predecessor wrote. So here, this teaching was written by Garwang Dudjom Lingpa. So that was the first Dudjom. His Holiness Jigdral Jeshe Dorje Dudjom Rinpoche clarified the text into its present form. So His Holiness Jigdral Dorje Yeshe Dorje was the direct predecessor of Yangtze Rinpoche or Dudjom Rinpoche in its present form. It is the preliminary practice for the Dudjom Tersar lineage. According to the Vajrayana path, there are three types of lineage. The longer lineage called Kama, the shorter lineage called Dharma, and the profound lineage of pure wisdom called Dagnang. Each lineage has its own Ngöndro practice. Ngöndro is the foundation practice. For example, which path would you like to practice? And there is the foundation. Foundation is like how to enter. So that path, once you enter, it's complete. It can take you to the result. And those paths are free from any errors or any kind of flaws or any kind of mistakes like that. So each lineage has its own Ngöndro practice. In particular, the Dudjom Tersar Ngöndro belongs to the lineage of the short Dharma and the profound lineage of pure vision. Within the Dharma tradition, there are thousands of treasure finders, or tertens, we say, spiritual treasure revealers, who discover hidden Dharma treasures. These Dharma treasures or dharmas can take many forms, including substances, ritual implements, and supports for visualizations such as furba, like dagger, like this one, this ritual. We call furba, like a stake, like that. And relics, Dharma texts, and so on. Among these treasure finders, Dudjom Lingpa was one of the most famous of the past century. So Dudjom, the one who wrote this text, he was born in 1895 and lived till 1904. He was the body emanation of Kyuchung Lotsawa, one of Padmasambha's 25 main disciples. When Guru Rinpoche came to Tibet, his source of origination of emanation is traced back to one of the translators who was the heart sons of Guru Rinpoche, so Kyuchung Lotsawa. So he is counted among the 25 main disciples. He was the speech emanation of the wisdom Dakini Yeshe Tsogel. Dakini Yeshe Tsogel was the consort of Guru Rinpoche. And the mind emanation of Padmasambhava is himself, the mind emanation of Guru Rinpoche himself. His incarnation was prophesied for centuries by many sublime beings, including Padmasambhava himself. These prophecies were very precise. They included such details as in which country he would be reborn, what the name of his father and mother would be, the direction of the door of his house would face, what he would look like, any birthmarks he would have, and so on, like that. So that's the speciality of these masters, that when they emanate or before they take life form, they leave indications. They would come back in this kind of life forms and so forth like that. So they also revealed that Dudjom Lingpa would be an emanation especially powerful for these degenerate times, and would reveal teachings so profound that enlightenment could be attained within one lifetime. It is mentioned that 13 of his disciples attained rainbow body. In this tradition of our teachings, then there are so-called phenomena of dissolving one's corporeal body into light body or into light forms, where the remains of a body are not left, depending on that one. Some are called the the great transference rainbow body or the lesser transference rainbow body and so forth. So they are called attaining Buddhahood in single lifetime. All of these prophecies confirmed his incarnation, and his birth was accompanied by many auspicious signs. Displaying numerous miraculous power, he went on to reveal great many dharmas. Dharmas are hidden teachings, including a number of texts and 22 volumes of teachings. These teachings were so powerful that 13 of his disciples attained rainbow body, meaning that when they died, their bodies dissolved into space, leaving no corpse behind. Thousands attained the level of Rigzins, or awareness holders. Dudjom Lingpa established new generations and lineages of Mahasiddhas. Mahasiddhas are great accomplished masters, and realized beings, accompanied many other wondrous feats as well. Before passing away, Dudjom Lingpa prophesied the site of his rebirth, the province of eastern Tibet called Pema-kö. This incarnation was my root teacher, though, so this is Lama Tachin Rinpoche's teacher. His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche, Jigdrele Doji. He was born in 1904 and then passed away into Parinirvan in 1987. Prophecies about His Holiness' life had been made for centuries. His family lineage was from the Dharma king Tsongdetsen, who was the great Dharma king, or the spiritual king, who invited Guru Rinpoche and the abbot Shantarakshita to Tibet, and that was how they established Buddha Dharma. He too was born accompanied by many auspicious signs. Although he had no formal education, by carrying his memory from his past lives, he became one of the greatest and most famous scholars in Tibet. Not only was he a great scholar, he also manifested as a completely realized being. Utterly inseparable from Guru Rinpoche, Dudjom Rinpoche was his representative for this generation. During his lifetime, he headed the Nyingma school of Vajrayana Buddhism when Tibet underwent the communist invasion in Tibet. Many of the lamas from all 4 different schools fled Tibet and then came to India. Dudjom Rinpoche was the one who led the Nyingma. He was the head of Nyingma lineage. His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche embodied a great power, making it possible for anyone connecting with him, be it through seeing, hearing, touching, or becoming his student, to attain liberation. Dudjom Rinpoche's activities grew while he traveled and taught, spreading Dharma throughout the world. By revealing multitudes of mind treasures teachings, compiling and restoring many old dharmas, and creating volumes of texts, he repaired and expanded the Nyingma lineage, which had become dangerously thin. So there was a time, because it was, and Dudjom Rinpoche kind of dedicated all his life and his practice in strengthening that lineage. His texts included profound sadhanas and teachings spanning the complete path of Vajrayana from beginning to end. The Dudjom Tersar lineage includes both Dudjom Lingpa's and His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche's cycles of teachings. The Dudjom Tersar Ngöndro is the foundation practice for both the Dudjom Tersar lineage and the entire Vajrayana Buddhist path. Establishing a strong foundation is the only way to create something which will ultimately produce a lasting result. When building a house, the foundation is not only the beginning, but also the most important part of the finished building. When you are initially introduced to Dharma, you may feel enthusiastic and inspired. However, this feeling may only be temporary, since by nature our emotions and feelings are constantly shifting and unstable. Without a strong foundation, when fluctuations occur, Dharma may temporarily appear irrelevant or unimportant. You may want to give up, while in actuality, Dharma is the only thing that can ultimately help. Not establishing a strong foundation is like building a house on a frozen lake that is sure to melt in the spring. That is why Ngöndro is so extraordinarily important. To understand Ngöndro within a larger context, it is helpful to understand why it is the preliminary practice and for what it lays the foundation. Ngöndro is called the preliminary practice because it lays the foundation for the two main stages of Vajrayana practice, the creation stage and the perfection stage. The creation stage falls under the category of the Mahayoga. So these are things, you'll come to know more and more. The goal of Mahayoga is the realization of the inseparability of form and emptiness. It uses visualizations of deities, recitations of mantras, and recognition of the correct philosophical view as the method of realizing that all form is the deity's body, all sound is mantra, and all thought is the enlightened mind of intrinsic awareness. The perfection stage has two levels of practice, Anuyoga and Atiyoga. Anuyoga is the method of realizing the inseparability of bliss and emptiness. It is the yoga of nerves, channels, and vital essence, Nadi, Prana, and Bindu in Sanskrit, or Tsa Lung Tigle in Tibetan. Atiyoga is Dzogchen, or the great perfection, and is the method for realizing the inseparability of awareness and emptiness. Through the practices of Trekche and Tögal, Ngöndro serves as the preparatory practice for both the creation and perfection stages of Vajrayana practice. The only difference between sentient beings and Buddha is that the first has obscurations while the other doesn't. We are sentient beings because we have temporary defilements or obscurations to our wisdom mind. All sentient beings are inherently Buddha, temporarily defiled by gross emotional obscurations and by the subtle obscurations of habit. So that's why in these kind of teachings, Rinpoche in his teachings is already explaining that sentient beings inherently have the Buddha nature. When these are removed, the Buddha within naturally manifests. According to the Vajrayana path, only two methods exist for removing these two obscurations. First, the accumulation of merit and wisdom, and second, the direct transmissions from the Guru's mind to the student's mind. Ngöndro uses both methods and include the essential practice of the three yanas, Hinayana, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. The essence of Hinayana practice is refuge. When we say refuge, then this path embodies as the essence of uprooting the harm for oneself and others. Because like we were talking, what we had done all this lifetime has just harmed ourselves, and likewise we have harmed others. So if we were to take refuge, we would be able to eliminate that. So refuge is the essence of uprooting the harm toward ourselves and others. Like that. So that is the Hinayana path. The generation of Bodhicitta, enlightened attitude, is the essence of Mahayana practice. Accumulation, purification, and mind transmission of Guru Yoga are the essence of Vajrayana path. So the Mahayana path, to essentialize it, is accomplishing the source of benefit for oneself and others. If you want to benefit yourself here and hereafter, or hereafter, then we need to engage ourselves in the path of Mahayana, cultivating great compassion and wisdom. And this can truly bring the benefit of others and oneself like that. So that is to essentialize the path of Mahayana. And then the Vajrayana is to bring forth the awakened dimension, or the dynamic perception or dynamic view of understanding awakened bodies, which is like deities, awakened speech, mantras, and awakened mind or wisdom mind as the state of pristine awareness, like that. Ngöndro is a preliminary practice containing all paths, including the creation and perfection stages of the Vajrayana path. Since it contains all paths to the realization of enlightenment, then every effort should be made to complete the Ngöndro in order to fully cultivate and realize its profound benefits. It was my good karma and great fortune to have spent much of my life with His Holiness Dudjom Rinpoche. I met him when I was only 8 years old and was with him until his passing in 1987. I received empowerment teachings and did many retreats with him as my heart teacher. Great teachers such as Dudjom Rinpoche have written many profound teachings about Ngöndro, so it is unnecessary for me to write anything more. However, since these have not yet been translated into English and my Dharma friends have requested it, I have written this commentary. So Lama Thajun Rinpoche he's humbling himself and then he's mentioning this. In writing these few words, it is my intention to benefit those who may be new to Buddha Dharma or who want to develop an ongoing practice. I am not presenting this commentary in the classical style or decorating with fancy scholarly words. Instead, my aim is to help my Dharma friends in a straightforward and simple way. For this reason, I am generating pure motivation and the wish that these few words may be of some benefit. So that is Lama Thajun Rinpoche is introducing this book. Okay. So it's wonderful. And there are many other commentaries as Rinpoche mentioned, but this is very concise and to the point. And many of you students, I've been encouraging you to, practice. You all are inspired to learn more about the Buddha's teachings, and I often tell whoever comes here, if you want to do that, then we have this precious life, and utilize this life to find the right path, a path that can take us to the result. Any questions? So many of you are also new to Buddha Dharma, and we are about to enter into what is called as the most holy month called Sakadawa. According to Vajrayana, this month, the coming month, has 3 anniversaries of the Buddha: his birth, his attaining Buddhahood, and passing into Nirvana. So all these 3 anniversaries fall in the month, which is the 4th lunar month, which is called Sakadawa. So on the 15th day, the full moon is very auspicious day, and then I will be doing a refuge ceremony. Those of you who want to enter into the path, then you may take refuge. You can do that. Okay. Any questions? No? No questions?
What is the refuge?
Refuge is like traditionally entering onto the Buddha path.
Okay.
So with refuge comes precept, then you have discipline, you have something to practice, to set yourself onto the path, how you train your body, how you train your mind, how you train your speech, like that. So until you take refuge, then you are just kind of visiting from outside.
Yeah.
So once you take refuge, you are actually entering the doorway of the path. And then, depending on your practice, your exertion, your diligence, then you know how quickly you traverse this path. This path is just to traverse. Path is not a destination. So, for example, you want to get to Buddhahood. Buddhahood is the destination. So, in order to enter the path, we have the gate. So, refuge is the gate. Okay. And then sometimes we get lost ourselves. So we just want to remain on the path, and then you don't want to, we kind of forget about the destination. We just kind of hang and chill ourselves. Yeah. So, but path is just to traverse. So, in the Buddhist teachings, it's mentioned, path is like a boat to ferry across the ocean, but the other bank of the shore, or the other shore, is the destinations. So likewise, in order to enter into the path, then there is a gate. So refuge is the entrance to the gate. Entrance onto the path, let's say. Okay? Okay, then.
If one has taken refuge in another school or tradition, one can still go ahead and take refuge here.
One can take refuge repeatedly, yes.
Great.
We will talk more about the refuge. Okay. Okay, then we'll now dedicate and we'll end the class. It's a dedication. What page number is that? Page 62 or something? What page?
62.
62, yeah. Page 62. It's a dedication. Sanam di dhamje sikpa ne thamne ne pe dhanam phamje shin kega na chi balong trupa ye sinpe sole drowa ra sho chambe bawo jintara kemba dan kundu sangbo denyang de jinte deda kungi jesu dalo chen gewa deda thamje rabdo Dudjom Shekpen Gewan Tamjen King Owa Gangla Chonto Ngakpa De Dage Gewe Tsawa De Kencha Sambo Cheche Rabdo Owarai Ge Janchu Semcho Rimbo Che Make Panam Gejurich Keba Nyamba Meba Dan Gone Gondo Pelwarasho Janchu Semdan Midrichi Janchu Chela Showa Dan Sange Namgi Yongzong Duge Lenang Bangwara Sho Janchu Semba Namge Ne Roden Tugla Gongro Sho Gombo Yine Gangongba Semjen Namla Dejuro Sho Semjen Tamjen Dedan Denjuruch Ngendro Tamjen Dado Dongbar Sho Janchu Semba Gangdak Sajopa Dedan Gunge Melam Dro Barasho Gewa Diye Gewa Kun Sonam Yeshe Tsozo Shin, Sonam Yeshe Lejongwe. Damba Kunni Tobarasho Rinchen Geso Deye Rowa Kun Tadu Dambe Chendam Midrish. Ranshin Dene Zoba Tarchinne Chenga Drope Jigden Zemparasho. Pende Junne Demba Peljuruche Serra Kundu Chella Chenjuruche. Gyalkam Kundu Tashi Gejuruche Drogun Chamche Sange Top Juruche Lama Gukam Zangwar Sewande Chondu Kuse Ringwar Sewande Chinle Darjin Ge Para Sewande Lama Dandrewa Me Para Jingje Lo Gandu Gebe Gewan Tamjen Tore Yenden Dunden To Barasho Gema Tadu Chedan Tejurich Suljin Drube Rangwan Ye Parasho Derian Lama Damba Nejej Nindan Tsendu Chela Che Parasho Chedo Nini Ningbo Dendru Tsende Sebe Janso Gewarsho Seba Dambe Chera Denjej Shenpen Drobla Chongel Me Parasho, Lapchen Jenden Chore Me Bai. Tamje Chamje Sange Tom Parasho, Chesil Dian Nide Gil Korachin. Choge Tadru Kundu Dagjuruten, Loje Bemo Rabdu Gejechin. Sange Demba Darjin Ge Parasho, Lungrik Tebe Mishi Dribled. Menga Sumbe Tezom Munajon, Gomjon Yege Nelo Jejins. Sherab Sumge Nawa Ge Parasho. Kenlo Chesum Ringlo Che, Zamling Sarsum Chambarbe. Doju Chosum Nawa Dan Medre Desum Gele Sho. Nandra Riksum Langa Che Goyang Kuda Yeshe Roba Jamle. Sabsan Eljur Chembu Nyamlen La. Yerme Tuki Tigle Roche Sho. Kewa Kundu Yanda Lama Dan Dalme Cheke Bella Lonjej. Sadan Lamge Yende Rabzote. Palden Lame Gofan Yuroto Sho. Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Sindhi 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 Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Tedringsal Benzer Samayanza Sindhi Pala Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Tedringsal Benzer Samayanza Sindhi Pala Om Ahum Benza Guru Pema Tedringsal Benzer Samayanza Sindhi Pala Ah. Okay, like that. Okay, so see you in the next class, everyone. Learn more about the Four Noble Truths and then see if this is the path for you or not. Then if you think so, then you can join the class and then start working towards your preliminary practice. Okay, Tashi Delek, good night everyone. Tashi Delek.